Before MMA, I'm going to touch a little bit on that. Before you entered MMA, what were your dreams and aspirations then?
I mean, before I started doing MMA, growing up, I always had dreams of want to be a pro football player. That was what I wanted to do. I didn't have that drive and that passion that you have to have in order to become that. Like early in my life, I didn't understand what that was. I was persistent. I went to practice. I did all the things you need to do to be on the team and things like that. I played football for 9 or 10 years, but when it came down to it, that really wasn't my calling. I thought it was. My dad, he played football. My uncles and my brother was good, and I just wanted to be involved in it because I just thought that was what I was supposed to do. But that wasn't it, man. But that's what I wanted to do before I became a mixed martial artist. Be a pro football player.
Playing football. Was there any just out of curiosity, what team would you like to be drafted to if you could be drafted?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't even have a team now. But if I don't know, play alongside of my Giants.
There you go.
Yeah, let's do that.
If sports didn't work out, I know you said you wanted to play football. If sports didn't work out, did you have a backup plan as far as maybe a career? What kind of schooling you would like to receive or anything like that?
I got into mixed martial arts for one reason. I didn't understand. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I did a lot of praying about it. But I didn't have a plan B. When I decided that mixed martial arts was going to be my thing. No, I mean right now, I'm not going to school or anything like that. But this career path, I didn't have a plan B. I knew that this was going to work. Regardless, man. This is what I wanted to do. Being younger
or anything, what was your first exposure to either UFC or just MMA in general?
The first time I was introduced to MMA I think I was 7 or 8 years old, maybe. I was over Marvin Lively's house, and he was like, "Hey, let's go downstairs and watch some UFC or cage fighting." And I was like, "What is that about?" This was during the Hoist Gracie days, the Ken Shamrock era, the first UFC. And I kind of watched it. I was sitting with my dad and him, and just kind of watching it. And I was like, "This is really brutal and things like that." And I didn't really get into it. I watched a lot of karate films growing up. I was interested in martial arts, but I never wanted. It wasn't a dream of mine, that I had it during that time of my life. But I guess maybe some little part of that stuck with me. I don't know what it was, but I guess the second time I was introduced to it is the time I decided that was going to be what I wanted to do. Is honestly, I was walking through Walmart one day, and I ran across the UFC 51, Vitor Belfort versus Tito Ortiz, and something told me to buy it, and I was like, okay. So I bought it, took it home, put it in, and from that first fight, man, my heart was racing, and I was like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. I don't know, this might be it. And from then on, I've just been was looking for gyms in the area, and then I branched off, and here I am today.
That's what I actually was going to ask next. Is what made you want to do that as a career? Do you think it's the adrenaline rush, or?
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, you start to learn how to be a better fighter. That's one of the things you have to learn to control that emotion and the adrenaline that comes with it. But that's not why I wanted to be a fighter. I mean, I wanted to do something great for my life, and honestly, I didn't even know I could fight until I tried it. And honestly, fighting was one of my biggest fears in life growing up. And facing that fear and knowing that I can become something great in a sport that's growing so vastly. That's something I wanted to do. Yeah, but actually, to elaborate on that a little more. The whole football thing. I definitely wanted to be a pro football player. I thought that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't make I didn't take the right steps in order to make that happen. And then after high school, when I started getting involved in MMA a little bit, I knew wrestling season was over. That was out of the question. So what I did, didn't know any other way to go about it. Like I was searching for like what my calling in life was basically. So I just kind of prayed about it, and it didn't happen just once. I was just kind of prayed to God, like, God, what do you want me to do in my life? Like I want to be great at something. Like what do you think I should do? Like I wanted to even go into the military. Something kind of told me to do that because I wanted to do something that involved like being athletic and things like that. But my mom, she actually talked me out of going into the military. So that was out of the question too. So I prayed about it. I was like, God, like what do you want me to do? Like what's something that I can pursue, that something I love, something that's fresh, something that's new, something that's never been done before. Show me something. And I did that for a couple weeks actually, and then that's when I walked through Walmart and saw UFC 51. Someone told me to buy it, took it home and watched it, and from that first fight, like I knew, like I was actually afraid to do it. I knew that's what God wanted me to do, but I was like kind of like, nah, this is too much. It's I don't even like to fight. Like how am I gonna do something I don't like to do? But it took time. Like I kept watching the fights, over and over, just watching it, and I got accustomed to seeing that. And from then I started to find different gyms in the area, which there's not many, but I started training with Wayne Buford. He actually did a few Rough and Rowdies, and I was going over his house like every single day. All he had was a speed bag and a heavy bag. We're in a garage. It was a dirty garage, and we'd go over there every single day, like consistent as can be. And then when I wasn't doing that, I would go to the community center and work out, like run on the treadmill, lift weights and things like that. And I was still working, at Food City too. So, I mean, from there, it's just accumulated, man. Like I've had some of the successes that come along with that, and then I've had some of the downfalls. But I've always stayed consistent with it. Thought I hit you. Sorry.
So after you decided that MMA was what your calling was, how did you narrow down gyms, and how did you decide which gym to decide on to train?
Well, I mean, I knew I had to train at some places that that had guys that were better than me. So that's basically what I based my training off of. When I first started, I was in the garage by myself, training for the Rough and Rowdy Brawl, and then from there you meet people along the way, like in the journey. And after I did my first Rough and Rowdy Brawl, I met Chris Jones, and he was actually one of the first guys. He was the first guy I fought like in the Rough and Rowdy, and it's funny because that first Rough and Rowdy I had it's a 2-night tournament, and there was a bye. I had a bye the first night. I didn't fight the first night, so I got a bye the second night. Then I had a bye my first fight the second night, so I'm like, I want to get my feet wet and fight somebody. I made it to the semifinals, and my first fight in the semifinals was Chris Jones. He was like the reigning the middleweight champ at the time, and I was like, really? I gotta fight the reigning champ my first fight? But anyway, I got in there. I faced my fear, and I fought him. I was like, I'm gonna do my best regardless. I mean, I don't know who this guy, or I know who he is. He's a champ, but I'm gonna go out there and show him what I'm made of, and that's what I did. I didn't win the fight, but I got in there. I took his best blows. He took mine, and it's a 3 1 minute round, or it was 3 1 minute round fights, and we took it to each other, and even though I lost the fight, it was a victory because from when I faced my fear and I accomplished the goal, and then from there, like I became really good friends with him, and he invited me out to his gym in Richland. It was KO Fitness, and started training with those guys, and then from there I got my first amateur fight, and just going into that.
And before you went pro fighting, you made a name for yourself definitely on the amateur scene, and actually you actually went back to a Rough and Rowdy Brawl, and you competed in that and actually won the Rough and Rowdy. How was it different training for a boxing tournament versus any form of training you had done as an MMA event?
The training is different because for one, is there's so many different aspects to MMA. Like in boxing, you're just throwing hands, and you're working your footwork and angles and things like that too. But in mixed martial arts, there's so many other different areas you have to look out for, and you have to be, you have to have your offense, you have to have your defense, you have to, look out for takedowns if you don't want to take the fight to the ground or want to fight on the ground. You also have to be aware of knees and elbows and kicks and the punches and the submissions and all that. So training for MMA it's more, I don't know, it's just more advanced in my mind. There are boxes that are really advanced, but it's just more to worry about in the fight. That's how it's different. As far as like cardio, conditioning, things like that, it was pretty much the same.
Early in your amateur career, you suffered your only loss, what would turn out to be your only loss within the amateurs. After losing, I think you had said it was maybe your second or third fight when you had your loss, maybe fourth.
It was my third fight.
Third fight, yeah. What did that do to your mind frame, and how did that really make you get into the gym and prepare even harder, suffering that loss so early within your amateur career?
Yeah, well, I think one of the reasons why I took that loss is because I underestimated my opponent, and that's like rule number one: don't underestimate your opponent. I made that mistake. I had my first amateur fight, it was a first round knockout, and then my second fight was a second round knockout, I believe. But I was still young, and I was like, man, this is so cool. I'm doing really well at this, and I got a little cocky, to be honest with you. Having two knockouts like that, and I underestimated Steven Stotler, the guy that I lost to. And I watched film on him. I was like, he's a good wrestler, but I'm going to destroy this guy. And honestly, I don't think I trained as hard as what I should have. I knew I had the skill and ability to beat him, but my mind wasn't there. Like, I didn't take him seriously. And when you do that, like that causes some problems. See, when the fight, having that same mindset, destroy this guy, which is good, but at the same time, I didn't do the preparation that it took, to win the fight. But he, we got in there, and he took me down and beat the crap out of me for 3 rounds. I didn't quit, so I learned something that fight. I knew that I had an intestinal fortitude, but he beat me. Like he won legitimate. Destroyed me on the ground and everything. But I took that loss to heart. That was one of the times I did have like a crossroads. Like, do I keep doing this or do I do something else? You always have those moments that come up in life, even if that's what you want to do, and you're for sure of it. But sometimes you have those doubts in your mind. That was one of those times I had a doubt, and went back to the drawing board. I was like, I still want to pursue this. I still want to do it, and that gave me the motivation to train harder. When I took that loss and came back and got a victory.
After suffering that loss, you got back on it. You stayed training and everything. You actually went on to win the Virginia middleweight championship belt.
Right.
What was it like for you? Like, maybe what kind of milestone was that, or what did it mean for you to get kind of that first taste of gold and see that you can have success?
Yeah. The funny thing about that fight, when I took that W, I didn't even know I was fighting for a title that night. I didn't even know. Like, there was like, yeah, Sean, you're fighting this guy, whatever. It's a title fight, by the way. I'm like, I've been training really hard, and that just excited me even more, to know I was fighting for a title. But as far as winning that title, it was a really, really good experience. I feel like I had definitely accomplished something, especially after taking my last loss. I knew, I had what it took to overcome a loss and, be successful with that. But, it was just a cool thing, man. It was, having that belt, getting to sport that. It was really cool, there was like no money involved or, no real, stuff involved with that. But it was, kind of bragging rights and things like that went into it, and it was cool to have it.
After that, you went back to the Rough and Rowdy. You did a Rough and Rowdy. You actually won for the second straight year. You won Rough and Rowdy. And I believe, if I remember correctly, you told me for the second year, to be more challenging on yourself, you went into the heavyweight instead of the middleweight. How were your preparations different for the second year? Not only necessarily for just entering it again, but stepping up in a weight class.
Well, honestly, I wanted to do middleweight again. It wasn't necessarily to make it more challenging. In the end, it was, but I couldn't do any more middleweights because I had won prior to that. So you can't, compete, and you can't win 2 championships in that weight class and still stay in that weight class, basically. But I had to move up to heavyweight. As far as my preparation, it was still the same. I focused on putting more power behind my punches and things like that. But everything else was still the same. I wasn't worried about my weight so much because I knew I was going to be competing in heavyweight. But yeah, it wasn't too much of a difference. Like, yeah.
Also, as an amateur, you won the Virginia Golden Gloves Award. And with your Rough and Rowdy experience, you had a lot of success in boxing as an amateur on top of MMA. Did it ever cross your mind to become a boxer instead of an MMA fighter?
Yeah, it did. At the time, there's so much more heart that I have that goes into MMA. That's why I didn't go into boxing. It wasn't for me. Like, yeah, I know I'm a good boxer, but it just wasn't. It's not the same feeling. I don't know. Even though it's a combative sport, I just didn't have the same the heart and drive for boxing. But yeah, I did think about being a pro boxer, but MMA was my thing. Right? That's why I started boxing, because I wanted to do MMA. I knew I had to have a base in something, so boxing was the easy route to go as far as having a base. And then I started doing my wrestling and my jiu-jitsu and things like that.
So, at this point, within your amateur career, man, it's just booming. You're making a name for yourself definitely within Virginia, especially, hometown people in Bluefield, with all your victories. You were 9-1 at that point as far as MMA, plus the Rough and Rowdies, Virginia Golden Gloves, all that stuff. What point did you decide that was enough and that it was time to go pro?
Well, my trainer at the time, Casey Oxendine, he made the call in a way. Well, he asked me, he's like, do you think you're ready to go pro? And I was like, I don't know, because it's a step up in competition. Once you go pro, like there's no going back. You can't say, okay, I'm not ready for pro, I'm gonna go back to MMA. So you can't do that. So that's one of those things I had to pray about. I prayed about it and watched some of my fights and thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to go pro. I've been training with really good guys, and I think it's time. So I told him, I was like, yeah, I think I'm ready. So that's when I decided. Yeah, he knew, and I saw the confidence in his eyes that he had in me, so that gave me more confidence too.
So at this point, you decide to go pro. You end up actually moving to Texas. Kind of a split question there. How did your parents feel about you choosing MMA as a career, and then also in order to choose that as a career, having to move to Texas so far away?
Well, when I first started doing MMA, like my mom and my dad were both like, what are you doing? Like, you're not a fighter, you're a lover type guy. I was like, yeah, but I feel that I can do it. And when you step outside the box and you start doing something that nobody has done before, or like nobody that in your hometown has done, you start to get opposition there. You're like, people are saying like you can't do it. You're like, you're not tough enough, you're not skilled enough, whatever. I just look past that. But my parents, after I got into it and started to win, they were still like, this is my son. I don't want him fighting, but I'm backing him because I do see that he's not, going to get hurt. It's just a dangerous sport, but he knows how to protect himself. He's doing well, so we're going to back him 100%. But they've always been there for me in it. As far as moving to Dallas, they were behind me 100% in that too. Yeah, it's really far away, but they knew what I had to do. I explained it to them. It was a business decision basically. I didn't want to move either, but I knew in order to have success in this sport, I had to move away.
I know when you first moved to Dallas, you trained at Lion's Den with Guy Mesger, and sparred with him a couple of times. I know. how did that come about? How did you get in with Guy to be able to train at Lions Den?
Yeah, well, before I moved to Texas, a friend of mine, Zach Farmer, he had moved to Texas, I think a year before I did, and the opportunity came up through him. Basically, I was really good friends with him, and he knew what I was trying to pursue. He had moved out there. He got a good job, and he was like, "Hey, man, I know what you're trying to do. I think that you'd have more success and more opportunity if you moved to Dallas." I've been training with the Guy Masters Combat Sports Club for a while now, and I think you'd like it. I think that might be the next step. So, of course, I don't do anything unless I think about it and talk to some other people and get some different opinions. But came to the conclusion that was the right move. So that's how I met Guy, through Zach. But he just had a membership at the gym. We both went in. I told Guy who I was, and he started to help me. And we went from there.
So you get down there, you train. You're about to go out for your first fight. You're sitting in the locker room. This is the first time. This is getting to where it's getting to be the big leagues. What's going through your mind before you go out to the ring for your first fight?
Yeah, I actually had my first fight in Nashville, Tennessee too. Just to make that point clear. Sitting in the locker room, just thinking of all the preparation that I've done, and you just gotta get a different frame of mind when you go in there, man. You're going to battle, you're going to war, and you can't be the same person you're outside the cage. You can't be that person. You have to kind of change your mind, kind of become someone else. And yeah, I'm thinking about my goals. I'm thinking of all the people that support me in this and how far I've came. And I'm just like, I'm not going to be denied. This is my moment. This is my time. Even though this guy has trained, he's done his thing. He hasn't done more than me. I know what I have. I know what I have to bring to the table, and I'm going to win this fight. And then I just start to get, just in the moment.
Do you have any kind of pre-fight rituals or routines that you do?
I really don't. And even like some guys like to listen to music before fights. Earlier in my career, I did listen to music, but I've kind of grown out of that. I don't have to do anything. I just think of my goals, think of why I got into the sport, and just keep that on my mind, and that's what pushes me through, to get the win. And I love to do this. Like that's my motivation.
Yeah. A lot of your victories, amateurs and pros, have been very, very dominating, including several by knockout. What is the feeling that goes through you when you throw that last punch and you see a guy drop, and not necessarily what the feeling is knocking him out, but knowing that you won a fight? What is that feeling?
Yeah, getting the win, it's like the first emotion that goes through your mind once you know you've won is relief. You're like, oh my gosh, it's just relief, because it's a stressful thing. Like, even preparing for the fight, all the hard work that goes into that, it could be like 8-9 weeks of training, just dealing with life's battles that comes up, and just all the different things you've gone through up to that point. And then the night of the fight, you're just like, by that time you're so mentally drained. But when you get that W, you've won. That money's coming, and you've done what you had to do to win the fight, and the crowd is excited, and they're excited for you that you got the win. It's just relief. You're like, thank God that's over. I can't wait to do it again, but thank God that's over. I'm ready to get ready for the next thing.
So your pro career started picking up steam, which you have one loss as a pro, but you're picking up steam. Your fighting's going really great. You end up getting a deal to fight for Bellator on national television. How did that deal come about, and what does that mean to you to fight on national television?
Yeah, well, I mean, as you grow as a fighter, especially if you have a winning record, more opportunity comes up, and I have a great manager, Matt Rossini. He hooks up my fights, and he is one of the reasons that that deal was made. But fighting for Bellator was a great experience. Like, and then being on national television, like, I really don't think about it so much. Yeah, that gives me a little more motivation to win the fight and things like that, but I don't think about it. I don't try to put any extra pressure on myself. Like, I just feel like it's another fight. I'm gonna go do what I do best, you know, do my, you know, work my training, and win the fight. That's really all I think about.
After Bellator, more so recently, actually just a couple of days ago, you co-main evented the Legacy 13 event. What did that mean for you, co-main eventing a pay-per-view kind of deal?
It meant a lot, honestly. Legacy Fighting Championship, they're actually based out of Houston, and a lot of things were done for them to come up to Dallas, because I think Mick, the promoter, he was real skeptical about going to Dallas because he didn't know that market, I guess. But he worked some things out. He came to Dallas, and that was actually their debut event in Dallas. And I was just excited and just really just felt honored that he chose me to co-main event that card against a really great opponent. But fighting for Legacy was a really good experience, and I'm glad Evan was game, and we went out and we gave the crowd what they wanted to see.
Just a side question real quick before we go on, just because I was reading the next question here. Your nickname, Black Magic.
Yeah.
Tell me, where did that spawn from?
Well, I don't know, it's kind of funny. I got the name when I was at Guy Mezger's Combat Sports Club. I was actually just one day randomly just walking into the gym, and Buddy Clinton, he's one of the jiu-jitsu instructors up there, and I was really good friends with Buddy, and he always like goofs around and stuff like that. But I just walked in the gym. I was about to go to the dressing room to get changed, and he's just like, "What's up, Black Magic?" And I'm like, what is that about? Is that like my new nickname? He's like, yeah, it is. That's your new nickname. You're Black Magic. And I'm like, all right, I kind of like that. So from there, like, more people started calling me Black Magic, and I kind of started to like it a lot. And I actually changed the CK at the end, just a K, Magic, or not CK, but just the C, just to a K, because I just wanted to be, different, just have something authentic. But that's kind of how that name came about.
So after all that you've had so far in your MMA career,
yeah.
As of this point, what do you see next for Sean Spencer?
The UFC, man. I don't know if I'm gonna fight one more fight in Legacy or maybe 2 more fights with Legacy, but I doubt it. I think the UFC is the next step. I mean, I've got to go back to Dallas and talk to my manager about it and see what's up. But yeah, I mean, I'm at that point. UFC's next.
For anybody out there who may be a procrastinator or lazy or anything of that nature, and think that they don't have time to do something, just give them a rundown. Tell me what an average day as far as like a time schedule is like for Sean.
Well, when I'm getting ready for a fight, like, it's just crazy. But okay, I get up at 5:30 in the morning, get my stuff together, drink my protein and things like that, and get into the gym at 6. Do my cardio, my weightlifting, conditioning, and that lasts about an hour and a half. I get home, eat breakfast, get my stuff ready for work, go to work. I work for Lone Star Title Loans, and we do 10 to 6 Monday through Friday. Saturday is 9 to 2. But go to work, work all day till about 6:30 or 7. Sometimes we get out of the office late, and then from there go straight to the gym and train another hour and a half to 2 hours. Get out of there, go home, and do it all over again. 5-6 days a week. So yeah, what would I say to someone that's lazy or procrastinates? Man, there's enough time in the day. Like, people are always saying, hey, I don't have enough time in the day. Man, the day starts basically when you want it to. My day starts at 5:30 a.m. and I have a choice I can make. I can either be not disciplined and get up and put that extra work in the morning. I could sleep till 9 or 10 o'clock or whenever, 15 minutes till I have to be at work. or I can, start the day early and get more done than what I would have done if I had slept in. If you're lazy or procrastinate, I'll just say just get up and do it, man. Get off your butt, just get out and do it, man. There's the whole world out there to be taken, and just get up and do it.
Awesome. And last on the list, for anybody who thinks that Bluefield doesn't have an outlet, or if you're from Bluefield that you can't really achieve anything, there's a couple of other people from this area who have done something. But just from your experience, you're from Bluefield, you're making an impact on what you're doing. What kind of advice would you give somebody who wants to get out of Bluefield and make a name for themselves?
Yeah, I would tell them, life is really what you make it. I'm not gonna sit here and say you should move out of Bluefield if you want to make something greater in your life, or moving is something you should do. But I think if you want to make something of your life, just find what it is that you want to do and pursue it to the best of your ability. That's what I would tell them. And being from Bluefield, like, you don't have to be born like as someone special or someone great. I think there's greatness inside all of us, man. You just have to dig deep down inside and find it. Life is a battle, man. There's a quote, like, life is a fight for territory. Like, once you stop fighting for what you want, what you don't want will automatically take over. So every single day you have to rededicate your life every single day to that thing that you want in order to get it. Because nothing is handed to you. If you're the type of person that got your hand out, like want something, like wanting somebody to give you something, or want life to give you something, that you should never want to be that type of person. Man. You should want to get it for yourself. Especially if God's blessed you with 2 arms, 2 legs, a good mind to go out and to do something. You should do it. Take advantage of what God gave you and live your life to the fullest.